What's going on, Ball and Glove loving Brewer fans? Welcome to Brew Crew Tuesday. I am your host, Tyler. You can find me on Twitter at Tyler Kurth. You can read my articles at Reviewing the Brew. And as I am here every Tuesday, talking Brewers baseball with you. So let's spend this whole video talking about the leaked American Family Fields pictures. Just kidding. We're not going to do that. I am going to say that it is going to take a lot of getting used to seeing that and calling that. Like I stumbled over it and I still don't really know if I pronounced it right or said the right words. Let's just go Am Field. How's that sound? We'll just go with that for now. But no, today I want to talk about the Blake Snell rumors. Obviously, the Brewers are by no means linked to this at all, but it is reported out there that the Tampa Bay Rays want to get rid of Blake Snell. Their reasoning, well, the Rays are like the cheapest team in the MLB. I know it's hard for us Brewer fans to believe, but I think there is an owner out there in Stuart Sternberg who likes to spend less money on a baseball team. Now, granted, the Rays did get to the World Series, and that's kind of where this drama comes from, and what makes this shopping of Blake Snell even interesting. Because if you're like, wait, who's Blake Snell? Just think back to Game 6 of the World Series when they pulled their starter who was dealing, and I mean dealing, out before he could face the lineup 3 times in a row. So that's the guy we're talking about. We're also talking about Blake Snell, the former 2018 Cy Young Award. He had a 1.89 ERA that year. Man, strikes batters out left and right. He is a left-handed thrower, mid-90s, likes to throw a changeup, curveball, slider, all with those things. There is lots of value in a player like Blake Snell, but he comes at a price, right? I mentioned the financial constraints. That's one reason why the Tampa Bay Rays supposedly want to get rid of him, is because of how much money they did not make this year and their cheap owner. So if you take a look at Blake Snell's contract, he does get a little bit of an increase this year. He, in 2021, is getting paid $11 million. In 2022, it'll go up to $13 million. And then 2023, $16.6 million. So those are 3 more guaranteed years on his contract. And that's a lot if you think about the Brewers trying to acquire him and pick up this contract, because you already have Christian Yelich signed for a lot longer than that. Obviously, you have Avi Garcia, who's making $10 million coming up this year. Lorenzo Cain has 2 years left. All 3 of those guys are well above $10 million for their deals, and then you want to add Blake Snell to that too. Ooh, it could be tough. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it will be tough to figure that out. So I half jokingly put out on my Twitter, I was like, hey, hit me up with your crazy trades, because I honestly feel like I suck at making trades, and I like listening to what other people say. So a couple of them I got here. The first one from Robin says, hater for Snell, straight up. So I get where he's going with this one here, right? Like, there's obviously a lot of value in Josh Hader, and the Rays want to get rid of him. So, okay, great. But now you're looking at the Rays, who on the other side are like, okay, we have arguably one of the best, we'll call him definitely in the top 10 pitchers out there. And you're going to give us one relief pitcher for it? No, they could easily go, hey, we're going to ask for more. I know you're taking on his contract. I know you're giving us a former 2-time NL reliever of the year who is still under club control. All that's great, but starting pitchers have a lot more value. So could the Rays demand more? I think so. I mean, you could easily make the argument the other way from the Brewers. Like, you're getting the best bullpen pitcher who is also a lefty as well. And in return, we're helping you shed salary. So I don't know how each team would approach those, but those are some things I kind of look at there. Like, my gut instinct regarding just a hater for Snell trade up deal is I'd go, I don't think it would fly. I think maybe if you're like really lucky, the Brewers could throw in, I don't know, another. You probably have to like replace not replace, but you have to throw in a starting pitching prospect to combat the fact you're taking away Blake Snell from the Rays, right? So do you throw in a Drew Rasmussen? Do you throw in a Zach Brown, Dylan File, any of those guys? Maybe. And then the Rays probably have to give you something in return. I mean, can you get an infield prospect from the Rays? Maybe. I'm not too caught up on my Rays prospects, sorry. So that's just kind of how I would view that trade going off in my head anyway. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a GM. So another one I got on here was from Nate. He has a completely different approach here. He says Freddie Peralta, Avi Garcia, Eric Lauer, and Corey Ray for Blake Snell. That seems a bit steep, I think. I mean, you're giving up essentially 4 MLB players. I mean, I know Corey Ray is on the 40-man and hasn't made his MLB debut yet, but he's pretty close. He could probably start on the active roster for another team out there if the situation's right, or at least get some experience next year anyway. I guess I don't know if he'd be ready for an opening day roster. Probably not, no matter where he is. So scratch that thought. But still, that is a lot of players to give up for Blake Snell. But on the other side, it's interesting because he threw Avi Garcia in there, right? So now you're combating $10 million from Garcia going out, but you're welcoming $11 million from Blake Snell. So I think that's a really cool kind of trade-off right there. And if the Brewers would ever somehow magically do something, that makes sense. But it does not make sense from the Rays standpoint because they said, hey, we had some financial struggles. We're looking to shed some of the payroll, make it go down here. So they, although Avi Garcia was a former Ray, probably don't want him back at that price tag. I mean, they let him go for a reason, right? Because they didn't want to pay him. So bringing him back just doesn't make much sense. But let's just say hypothetically they would. Looking at Nate's trade here, I do not like including Freddie Peralta in a trade. No way, Jose. I mean, if you listened to my trading pitchers for offense video a few weeks back, I said Freddie Peralta was in the red tier. He is not getting traded. I mean, the Brewers just have him locked up for such a steal. You can't get rid of him. So I do not like Freddie Peralta in this trade here. I mean, I'd take him out. I really don't even want to give up Lauer, but odd as it sounds, because I feel like we just didn't get to see him in a large enough sample size in 2020. And as a lefty pitcher, there's some value there. Obviously, you'd be getting Blake Snell, who's a much better lefty pitcher. But if I was looking at Nate's trade here, I'd say, yeah, I like Avi Garcia being in there. I like Corey Ray being in there. Can you get away with throwing in another pitching prospect, maybe 2? Thinking like guys who haven't made their MLB debuts yet or like just recently established. Sorry, Drew Rasmussen, or can you throw in a bullpen guy like Justin Topa in there, and Angel Perdomo? One of those guys where you can maybe sell a little bit high on from what they showed us in flashes of this year. So that's kind of my thoughts on the trade there. Obviously, I don't even anticipate the Brewers really being in contention to get him. There's a lot of other teams out there with better farm systems, can afford him, and are going to be a lot more willing to make something work. Whereas at the Brewers, it's like, yeah, if everything falls into place and, luck lands on our sides, maybe it could happen. But with how much the Brewers do not pursue starting pitching in general, the odds of them just going after this trade are like, they're gone. So, sorry, that is the Blake Snell rumors here for today on Brew Crew Tuesday. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have any other trade suggestions here on what might work. I'm always looking for ideas, looking for the light bulb to go off in my head. Make sure you're checking out my full-length podcasts. Those are a lot longer and usually include my buddy Trevor with me. So great dialogue between the two of us. Hit subscribe if you like us. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Trilogy_pod, and we'll see you next Tuesday, Brewer fans.